The court systems you were never told about. You may think you know how courts operate, but boy have I got a shock for you. We are told many things, but the truth is never usually one of them. Courts do not deal in civil matters. They deal in commercial contracts. This is esoteric knowledge that is not taught in law school. How you think courts operate, how they actually function are two very different things. Our courts operate just as a trust works, with a trustee, an executor, and a beneficiary. Did you know this? The judge, when you step past the bar, you have stepped into the waters of Admiralty Maritime Jurisdiction. And what's happening here is you are now operating in a court of commerce, not a common law court as we are led to believe. These courts were done away with many years ago, replaced by mercantile courts. So let's go over the positions held by each party there. First off the bat, we have the judge, who is actually sitting in the position of a trustee. Then the prosecution, who is sitting as the executor, and the plaintiff, sitting as the beneficiary, is you. When you step past the bar, the judge will ask you, please state your name for the record. Now, an alien jurist person, which means a minor or mentally disabled person who is legally incompetent and under the control of another, will say, my name is John Doe. This incompetent individual has just admitted he is the same as his name. Do you see what's happened here? What he has done is he has allowed the judge to hit him with a reverse card. He has relinquished his position as beneficiary of the trust and swapped positions with the judge. Trusts in the courts are under verbal or implied contracts. Jurisdiction can be constantly changed, but once you have swapped, it is very hard to get back. Courts are not there for justice. We must understand that they keep up these pretenses to ensure the public's faith and confidence in the system is maintained. What they are there for, in reality, is to administer funds from your Cesta KV trust. You see, although your trust is a fictitious entity, a dead entity, it contains millions, if not billions of dollars. And these clowns in the dojo, known as courts, are bound by the same rules, acts, legislations, and regulations that they have created. We know that through trust law and contract law, there must be a bilateral agreement by both parties before any funds can be administered from any trust. In essence, the judge, who was in the trustee position, must get you, the beneficiary, to agree that you are that name. Now, by hitting you with that reverse card, you have allowed him to act as the beneficiary of your trust, which you were the rightful owner of that position. But by your ignorance of the law, you have allowed supreme authority of that title to be stripped from you. The most important thing in the courts is to maintain your position as beneficiary. This requires you to not admit that you are that name, even at the start. People can allow the judge to call their name and then respond to it. This swaps those roles that I'm talking about. Then they maintain their knowledge of the trust by stating things like, Your Honor, I am the living man or woman who is the equitable, beneficial estate trust title holder of the name John Doe, asking a question of their own. Are you attempting to administer my trust without my consent? What you are doing is you are refusing to acknowledge the jurisdiction of the courts by not contracting with them. They may ramble on and say anything they can to get you to recontract with them at this point, as their first attempt has been nullified and voided when you asserted your standing as beneficiary. You must respond when they pause. I do not wish to contract or joinder with your corporation, and I waive the benefits on offer. They will even attempt to ignore your statement and state things like, we will take your response as not plead guilty. They are trying to verbally contract you by saying you want a contested hearing. This, again, is attempting to administer your trust without consent. As you can see, this gets quite involved. Like when talking to a police officer, you can easily incriminate yourself by just trying to explain something to them. Rather, you can simply respond, I don't answer questions. In a court, you want to keep your position as beneficiary at all times. You never want to admit to any authority figure that you are the same as your all caps name. Understanding that you are God's creation and the law states as much. You must begin to know who you are before anyone can comprehend taking on police, which are policy enforcers, or a court. You are a living, breathing man or woman, not a ward of the state. You are no one's property. Only your spiritual understanding and knowing of this concept will ever save you from any fraudulent authority figure from claiming God's creation as their own property. Only by your own ignorance of who you are and ignorance of the law will ever allow that. This trust was created via your birth certificate. Your date of birth of that trust just so happens to be the same born date of your living being, coincidentally. You can say to them, "You are accusing the trustee. I am simply the beneficiary of the trust, John Doe." They are the ones committing fraud by attempting to trick you into allowing another entity to administer your trust without your consent. As good as all this is, you will note that your judge will hightail it out of there before you can even finish your sentence, as these are serious crimes to administer a trust without the beneficiary's consent. The prosecutor will say something like, "We withdraw all charges and case dismissed." Thank you for engaging in this detailed overview of the court system, and we hope this information empowers you to do your own research. Follow Gov's Gone Wild on Instagram for more breakdowns of these topics. Feel free to shoot me an email at govsgonewild@hotmail.com if you have found yourself in any legal situation where this information may be applicable to your situation. The resources we can provide will help walk you through the whole process, provide documents, drafts, and resources for you to use and to even represent yourself via mail correspondence if you do not ever wish to step foot in a courtroom. Peace and love, family.